Bonsoir, bonsoir tout le monde. Comment nous y est? We can open up our volume just for a second. Let's hear some energy. Bonsoir tout le monde. Comment nous y est, assoya?
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir, bonsoir.
Hello, bonsoir.
Bonsoir,
Bonsoir.
Bonsoir.
Bonne fête, Bwa Kayiman, tout le monde. Bonne fête, Bwa Kayiman. My name is Manbo Dr. Kira Malika Daniels, and it is my esteemed honor to welcome you all this evening to our first of 3 series to honor and commemorate the legacy of Bwa Kayiman in Haitian history and contemporary reality. Welcome. Mabdi honor.
Respect.
Those of you who are joining us for the first time, welcome. For those of you who are longtime lovers and appreciators of Kosamba, bienvenue la caille. It is such a delight to be welcoming you all. Kosamba is the scholarly association for the study of Haitian Vodou, founded in 1997 in Santa Barbara, California. And it was founded by 13 Haitian scholar practitioners of Vodou who felt strongly that our tradition needed to be represented by us, for us. Fubu, okay? The original, the orientation that we knew our traditions best. We could best represent our traditions, uplift Haitian culture, recognize the powerful lineages from which we derive, and bring the wisdom of Vodou to the world. Kosamba has decided to take this year, 2024, to recognize it as the 220th year anniversary of Haiti's independence from France. We are one of only 2 nations in the entire world to have successfully defeated the British, the French, and the Spanish. And as many of you know, I imagined, Bwa Kayiman is what set off our revolutionary war for independence and for freedom. So welcome this evening to Seeds of Liberation. I'm going to start us off with a very brief prayer, because this is an opportunity for us to hear from our esteemed panelists, Houngan and Manbo, who have dedicated their lives, pas seulement pour honorer loyaux et servir ancêtres, but also to educate larger communities about the historical and contemporary role that Haiti plays in the world, and to illuminate the truth of the tradition of Vodou. Donc, n'a demandé bon Dieu, n'a demandé Olohoum, j'en prie souple. N'a demandé tout loi yo, tout ancêtre yo, tout mystère yo, Marassa, mort, les saints, pour bay nous guide sous chemin nan. Mes amis, je dis à même, nous Haïti jouen un pile problème. Nous nan difficulté nan moment ça, nan saison ça. Mais nous pas jamais oublier que Haïti c'est première république noire dans Amérique. Nous songeons que ces ancêtres qui étaient bataille pour tout monde joindre liberté, pour tout monde joindre indépendance. N'a demandé loi pour guide, n'a demandé saint pour bailler nous chemin pour traverser route là, parce que nous pas pour compte nous. Nous pas un peuple qui blie moun en dehors. Actuellement, Haïti c'est un pays côté nous réaliser tout monde c'est moun. Tout monde c'est moun, et nous connaissons que nous pas rien si nous pas continuer honorer tradition pas nous. It is with this that we give thanks to our ancestors, to the spirits, for continuing to offer us light and illumination on the path ahead. We recognize that they fought for not just their freedom, but freedom of all Black peoples everywhere, freedom for all enslaved peoples around the world. And in 1804, when Haiti became the first Black Republic of the Americas, it is because we foresaw that the liberation of formerly enslaved Africans in a colony could in fact liberate the world. Nous dit merci loyaux, nous dit merci ancêtres, et nous bayou grâce, nous demandons grâce, mais nous bayou goutte, nous bayou boisson, et nous dit aïe bobo, jodi à nous honorer loi au goût. This is our martial spirit of war and diplomacy. He is the soldier on the front lines and the general who oversees all. He is the strategist, the one who recognizes the importance of negotiations, not only on the battlefield, but in the salon. We give thanks, Nudzi Awoshenago, and it is my esteemed pleasure now to introduce and to welcome Houngan Jean-Sebastien Duvilaire, qui pas seulement yon bon zamim, qui pas seulement yon collègue, mais qui c'est yon frère, who is my spiritual brother. We give thanks, and I am so excited for the conversation to come. I can barely contain myself. Donc, nous me dit, aïe bobo, awoshenago. And with that, I turn the floor over to Jean-Sebastien Duvilaire, our Minister of Music for this evening.
Aïe bobo, aïe bobo. Merci un pile Manbo pour belle prière ça, pour belle salutation ça. Moi dis nous honnête dans la cour. My name is Manbo Alexandra, and it is with my great pleasure to introduce to you all Houngan Sebastien, who is also affectionately known as Houngan Babas. He is an independent scholar focusing on Haitian and African histories and traditions. He is a dancer, choreographer, artist, educator from Abricot, Haiti, currently residing in Worcester, Massachusetts. He is a husband, a father, and an active member of Société Nago based in Boston and Jacmel, Haiti. He is also an advisor in the Royal Court of Aizo of Alada, Benin, West Africa. As an independent scholar and entrepreneur, Houngan Sebastien is the founder of Tahome, which promotes Pan-Africanisms and bridges the gap between Haiti and Africa through sustainable business, arts, and culture and community education. He is the director of JSD Dance by Tahome and travels extensively throughout the United States, the Caribbean, and Africa to educate and perform. His commitment to the culture sustainability and justice is tied into working with artists, scholars, and farmers in rural Haiti and rural Africa. Consider them all as an important agent of a better tomorrow. Avec plaisir, Houngan Sebastien.
Hey Bobo, tout le monde. Thank you so much for this introduction, and thank you so much for having me in this amazing event. It is an honor for me. It is an honor for me, and let me go and do my work. Today, my presentation, I'm gonna invite you in song. I'm not requesting for a reply in the way this is happening, but if you do have a candle, if you do have some water and you want to pour some libation at any point, please, you're welcome to. The intention is to remember who we are, where we come from, remember Bwa Kayiman, and also set the tone for where we want to go. Aibobo, Aoshenago, Bilolo. E a fiewe. E a fiewe la, msalwe golwa na goyo. Msalwe Bwa Kayiman la, e a fiewe o batala. Dis anjos, nous toutes ces anjos, anjos bas, c'est nous. Aux anjos, nous toutes ces anjos, anjos bas, c'est nous. Odambala wedo, haïda wedo, nous toutes ces anjos, anjos bas, c'est nous. Et puis on t'a passé dans grand chemin à Vadra, papa Legba, Marassa, papa Loko, Aizan Vele Kete, Aizan Yenou, Manbo Aizan, Mini Sodan, Dambala Wedo, Aïda Wedo, Milokan, nous tous nous ces anges. Jean c'est nous. Bon maman yo, bon papa yo, bon grand papa yo. Habitation yo, assistant, passant, marraine, parraine, toute grande génération yo. Nous toutes ces anges. Y'a des anges c'est nous. Dit souffle vent, souffle vent. C'est pour nous, ouais. Dis souffle vent, c'est pour nous, ouais. Dis loco de oisé, azagon loco de oisé. Loco de oisé, azagon loco de oisé, empire de salino, loco de oisé. Boukmano, Bwa Kayiman. Nous l'emmenons, nous pas détourner. Bwa Kayiman, du général Boukmano, Bwa Kayiman. Nous l'emmenons, nous pas détourner. Bwa Kayiman, papa Boukmano. Nous est assez. Général Boukmano, nous arrivons dans Tobuto, au pays à diviser la famille d'Ozado. Nous pas te faire Bwa Kayiman. Pour nous rester divisés, on est les gouloyaux. Moi, c'est si haut, fon l'omeno yo. Les Gaulois, Adam Iso, ma plombe non nous, mais si wo, gade côté n'prale, famille la yo, an gade côté n'prale, an les Gaulois yo. Mais si ou n'a plomé non yo, n'a prele, Bwa Kayiman o, m'rele méditation yo, n'a prele papa Ogou, n'a prele Dambala la flambeau, n'a prele Zili Danton, n'a prele Madame Limba, n'a prele toute femme nan yo, n'a prele toutes ancêtres yo. N'après les Bwa Kayiman yo, di manzes yo, n'aplon men non nous. Nous dit oui Dieu, oui Dieu, oui Dieu. Je crois que Dieu est en place. Je crois que les mystères sont en place. Et je crois que tout est en place. Seigneur Dieu, écoutez nos paroles et exaucez nos prières. Oh Dieu, je vous prie d'envoyer une étoile de l'Afrique Guinée. Venir causer avec nous depuis ici jusqu'à l'Afrique Guinée. À go si, à go là. Ça qui fait bien, bon Dieu, c'est bien, ah ouais. Seigneur, vous avez mis deux chemins. Chacun est libre de choisir le chemin qui lui fait plaisir. Et que l'un ne doit détourner l'autre dans ses affaires. Par le pouvoir du grand juge du ciel, le grand chef de la terre et le grand chef de l'Afrique Guinée. Nous disons, Paul Isaac Bagui, on gansier. Toi, mina pas d'agui même fort. Nous gouerons. Nous, comme malade annoncé, quand Dieu l'est pour tout Dieu, on l'a doué sans. Au nom de Dieu, Père, Dieu, Fils, Dieu, Saint-Esprit. Pas pouvoir accouchement, pas pouvoir 7 fausses couches, 7 douleurs, pas pouvoir 7 caca. Pas pouvoir 29 points Carrefour, 29 points cimetière, 29 points Grand Bois. pas pouvoir race en race, génération en génération, bon maman nous, bon papa nous, bon grand-papa yo. Ça ne cité, ça ne pas cité, connu, inconnu, marraine, parraine, à toute grande génération yo. Nous prier après Dieu, après Dieu, après Dieu. Nous dit, nous reléo, nous cherchons, notre yo. Nous reléo, nous cherchons, notre yo. Nous reléo, nous cherchons, notre yo. Nous tous c'est you know. Aye, oh, nous toutes, nous c'est you know. Devant bon Dieu. Hey, Bobo.
Aí, Bobo.
Ay, bobo.
Aí, Bobo.
Oh,
Ay,
bobo.
Ay,
bobo.
Aí, bobo.
Oh, ay, bobo. Ay, bobo.
Ay, bobo. Merci, un pile, merci, merci. Houngan Jean-Sebastien. Nous là, nous ensemble, nous youn. My name is Manbo Dr. Kahdeidra Monet Martin. I am so pleased to be here with you all. And I'm going to take some time now to introduce our very esteemed panelists. Alain Jean-Pierre Louis is a marine biologist, environmental educator, and photographer. He is the founder of Osiris Crystals and a member of Société Naprivé based in Tomazo, Haiti. Alain is a Boston native who moved to Miami, Florida as a teenager, where he connected more intimately to his Haitian culture and traditional religion. Deriving from a long line of geologists, engineers, and educators, Alain holds a master's degree in marine biology. He says that by working in a marine environment, his love of the natural world expanded, as well as his spirituality and the belief in the healing powers of the natural world. Welcome, Alain. Jean-Daniel Lafontant is a leading public voice on Haitian Vodou in the United States. He is a communications and marketing specialist with more than 25 years of experience in diplomacy, global politics, and advocacy, including the Haitian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Ministry of Finance, and USAID. Jean-Daniel is the founder and guardian of Temple Narivé 777, that's 777 in Creole, based in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, where he grew up. He holds a Bachelor's of Science from New York Institute of Technology. Jean-Daniel is the executive director of the Haitian Cultural Foundation and has appeared in numerous media, largely in the United States, as an ambassador for Haitian Vodou. These appearances include a 2018 episode of the CNN show Believer with Reza Aslan, as well as the 2014 documentary In the Eye of the Spiral. In 2024, Jean-Daniel received a grant from the Princeton University Crossroads Project to create a multimedia website called Espace Milocan, which educates the public about his Vodou temple. Welcome, 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 Jean-Daniel Lafontant. And last, but certainly not least, never ever least, Her Royal Majesty, Queen Mother Dr. Dowoti Desir, is the Queen Mother of the African Diaspora, Benin Republic. In 2022, she was enthroned at the Royal Palace of Agonlin. Her Majesty Queen Mother Desir was born in Port-au-Prince, Haiti, of Cuban and Haitian parents, and she currently resides in both Benin and New York State. She is a graduate of Barnard College, Columbia University, has a master's degree from the Center for Curatorial Studies, Bard College, and a doctorate in ministry from the New Seminary. The Queen Mother is an interfaith leader, human rights activist, author, and photographer. As a Mambo Asogwe of Haitian Vodou, she founded in 2017 the Afro-Atlantic Theologies and Treaties Institute, ATI, and served as the Guetode de Outre-mer of the Confédération Nationale Vodou Haïtienne. The Queen Mother served as the first executive director of the Malcolm X and Dr. Betty Shabazz Memorial Educational and Cultural Center at the historic Audubon Ballroom. In addition, she has taught, guest lectured, and consulted with numerous colleges and international organizations across the US, the Caribbean, and the African continent. Her Majesty Queen Mother Desir is co-writer of the 2021 film, Vodou, Theology of Liberation, and appears in the documentaries Ancestral Voices 2, Spirit is Eternal, and Malcolm's Echo, The Legacy of Malcolm X. Most recently, she is the founder of the Imperial Corps Agogie of the African Diaspora, an educational and leadership program which connects women of the African diaspora to their sisters in Africa via online classes and a pilgrimage to the Benin Republic. So please join me in giving a warm welcome to Her Royal Majesty Queen Mother Dr. Dowoti Desir, to Houngan Jean-Daniel Lafontant and Houngan Alain Pierre Louis. We're so honored and welcome to have you all join us.
Thank you. It's a great pleasure to be here.
So just for the audience to know, we have a couple of questions here that we're going to pose to our panelists. And the first and the last questions they're going to all answer. And then at least two of them will answer the other questions that come in between, just so that you kind of get a sense of the format for this evening. So for our first opening question, we asked the panelists, just openly, what does Bwa Kayiman mean to you? So anyone can start with answering. What does it mean to you?
I'll start. For me, Bwa Kayiman is about opening up space and reclaiming it. It's about redefining and taking back our own humanity after the depravities and the ugliness of being kidnapped, stolen, forced to enliven ourselves, to be disease-ridden, to lose our culture, to lose everything about who we are. And so taking that back is what Bwa Kayiman is to me. And it's about the spirit of revolution and the radical imagination that always has to be with us, still 233 years later. At this rate, I don't know, it's my hope that we won't have to be like this all the time. But you know, we carry, what do they say? Vevea sudo, voodoo sudo. You know, the veve is on our back, the voodoo is on our back. So we carry that, the spirit of that revolution, with us on our backs, in the veve that are etched inside of all of us, in the voodoo that we carry in our spirits. So
I'm going to start with a song from Mistress from Bwa Kayiman. They sent a couple of songs to me today, as a matter of fact. And I'll speak a little bit more about Bwa Kayiman, what it is for me. The head loi of the site known as Bwa Kayiman in Montrouge is General Brise, a ferocious warrior. Brise, who manages the weather, is also the cavalier that brings the wind. And with that wind, he brings the energies and the loi from Africa, the warrior loi from Africa, into the dimension of Bwa Kayiman. Evidently, Bwa Kayiman, for me, is maybe the most important political event that happened in the New World. It's the conjuncture in which all Africans and all those who lived on the Americas before it was the Americas became one and decided to live free or die. So for me, Bwa Kayiman is the symbol not only of freedom, but of liberty for all.
Awesome. Well, for me, Bwa Kayiman, it's summarized to me as in Bwa Kayiman was yesterday, Bwa Kayiman is today, and Bwa Kayiman is tomorrow. All right, it's our past, it's our present, it's our future. As Vodouisans, as Haitian Americans, as Black people, it is not just, an event that happened. It's something that we continue to fight today. It's something that we will fight tomorrow. And it's something that it is like our Queen Mother said, it's something that we carry with us everywhere we go, on our backs, just everything that means, what it means to be liberated, what it means to be Haitian, what it means to be a Vodouisan, all comes down with Bwa Kayiman. And it's something that we will never forget, obviously. And it's something that will be here with us until, I think, end of humanity, end of society. I mean, this is a very, very pivotal, important event that we can't never let it go. And it's never gonna, we'll never get rid of it. So what is Bwa Kayiman? It's past, it's present, it's future.
Thank you all. There are many similar themes here, right? We talked about, Queen Mother said, "Why come on?" It's a reclamation, right? It's a reclamation of who we are, of our humanity, of our ancestry, of our independence. Danielle, Alain, that this is something ongoing. It's this enduring spirit of liberation, of freedom, of reclaiming our freedom. And so, and also this Pan-African, right? It's kind of this, it was one of the foremost Pan-African acts that happened. So along those lines, our next question is that we're posing directly to Her Royal Majesty and Oulanjan Danielle is, how do you honor the spirit and legacy of Bwa Kayiman in your work? And what are the lessons of Bwa Kayiman that we can apply to building Pan-African liberation movements today, right? So as we said, it's the past, it's the present, it's the future. So how do we move with the spirit of Bwa Kayiman in building our Pan-African liberation movements and collaboration today? Queen Mother, can Alain, can you unmute, please?
Thank you. Yes. I forget. For me, it's not really about how it affects my work. In some ways, it is my life. In preparation for this panel, I thought, well, I could talk about the work I've done at the United Nations. I could talk about my scholarship. I could talk about personal situations I found myself in. And I realized I could spend the whole night talking to you, because in many ways, the spirit of Bwa Kayiman, this aspect of audacity, of self-determination, of sacrifice, of knowing that if we can put aside our differences for a few minutes, we're able to recognize who the true enemy is, and to exert our energies towards that, towards getting rid of the things and the people that that suppress our lives and don't allow us to be the free beings that the Vodou intended us to be. You know, it is not that singular event, but it is the things that led up to that event and everything that has come from that event that is a constant source of inspiration to me, that reminds me of the existence of the self as an ancestral being, as a contemporary being, as a prophetic being. How do I, where did I come from? Where did I come from? You know, I always think of the Black Panther movie, who are you? So who am I? You know, I know who I am. I know what my roots are. I come from a tradition of fighters and people, all of us, who were revolting while we were still on the African continent, or we were revolting as we crossed the seas, that Kalinda line, that is the Atlantic Ocean, that acute awareness of what is above us and what is below, of the fragility of life and proximity to death, and therefore every moment that we have has to count. Every moment that we have has to matter. But what are you willing to do to make that matter, to make it count? How do we honor what our ancestors did, the sacrifices that they made for us? Are we making these sacrifices in our lives right now? And for myself, I've done that in a number of ways, but perhaps one of the most radical ways that I did that was understanding how to connect certain dots. I have traveled to some 90 distinct geographic locations in the United States, in the Caribbean, in South America, in Europe, and Africa to document with my scholarship, but also with my camera, the experiences that we had, experiences of tragedy, of hope, of beauty, of obscenity, of pain, everything that we as Africans who had been enslaved, we as Africans who were even arrived free here, but were put in, were incarcerated in one way or another, enslaved, contained, all of that. I've documented that to help tell a story, and every specific aspect of our lives as African descendants, but this is what the law charged me to do. And so telling that story through my scholarship with photographs is one of the more radical things that I've done. The other radical thing that I did was to understand my proximity to the ancestors, that I had a duty, that I had to close a circle. We left the African continent, came to Haiti, you know, as part of the diaspora, had a secondary diaspora here to the United States, and I closed the circle. I went back home. I went back to Monet. I'm still alive. I went through the port de no retour. I am a revenu. You know, the idea of the Egungun, the idea of the ancestors. I have sung my way or heeded the prayers and the songs of our ancestors, both in Haiti and in Dahomey. I came back home, and I'm standing with my hands on my hips, with my pont on my shoulder, with a crown on my head, taking back my space and here to protect our people in whatever way I can, the same way our ancestors during Bwa Kayiman understood that they had to protect our future by creating one for us. So that's how it's manifests itself in my life.
Ay, bobo. Incredible, incredible, incredible.
I'm a child of a Lakou called Lakou Jisou, who was, I think, fundamental in the Congress of Bwa Kayiman. In the north, there are different Lakous, and each of them in a certain way participated in the Congress of Bwa Kayiman. Even though Lakou Jisou is a Lakou that's primarily, I would say, Lakou Rada, in which the major law celebrated there is actually Papa Pierre. But we are only a few kilometers away from the site of Bwa Kayiman. Furthermore, in that region, there are different Lakou that were, most of them that were established in what was the most important slave compounds in the region. They were at one point different, what they call habitation colonial habitation that had at one point more than 30,000 African that were working as slaves on these plantations. And as you know, in the plantation system, they separated people and put people from different kingdoms in different plantations so they would not communicate. But because there were so many of them, I think that all the kingdoms of Africa were on that very small area where they had so many plantations. And this is why the site known as Bwa Kayiman is so prominent, because all of these Africans coming from different kingdoms of Africa were on that very small parcel of land, planning to become free forever. So all these Lakous, whether it's Lakou Brise, which is the Lakou of where Bwa Kayiman is in Montrouge, whether it's Jisou, whether it's Habitation Galifette, that's another Lakou, or all the Lakou from the north are part of that Bwa Kayiman heritage. So as someone that is from the north, I take big pride as being a child of Bwa Kayiman from the north region. But one thing very important is that Bwa Kayiman did not only happen in the north, it happened on the entire territory as that Congress spread in different regions. And in the south, there are also places called Kayiman. And we all know that there are no animals called caiman in this particular region. So Bwa Kayiman was an event that was fundamental in making the nation of Haiti. For me, Vodou started as we know it today. The genesis of Vodou as we know it today happened really in Bwa Kayiman. The nation was also created in Bwa Kayiman because we had to learn to communicate as one. And Creole, for me, became an official language in Bwa Kayiman. As we're going to move forward, talking about Pan-Africanism, I'll go more in detail into the Pan-Africanism aspect of Bwa Kayiman. But I think this was the first Pan-African Congress, because Africans from all the kingdoms of Africa, from north to south and from east to west, all met in that location to decide that they would become one people, a microcosm of Africa in a tiny piece of land, 27,000 square kilometers. So the Bwa Kayiman is not only the fundamental of who we are as Haitian, it's also the fundamental of who Africans are as one in a space that were not there. So for me, Bwa Kayiman is actually my identity. I'm going to try to play one more song directly from Bwa Kayiman, from the site known as Bwa Kayiman. I don't know which one of the maîtresses there sang the song, but it's someone from the Laku, as I had asked them to send me, and they didn't send the name, unfortunately, but we'll find out later. But it's a maîtresse from the Laku known as Bwa Kayiman that's singing a song for General Brise, who's the head loi of Bwa Kayiman.
Mais tempête m'a brûlé, brise montagne, fait vent, vent et vent. Mais tempête m'a brûlé, brise montagne, fait vent, vent et vent. Vent, vent et vent, ibolele, nous c'est quello. Vent, vent et vent, ibolele, nous c'est quello. Ah, c'est Nico, Sali Manbo. C'est Nico, Sali Manbo. Meskay la, timoun yo semble.
As we move forward also, the Igbo kingdom is named in that song for General Brise. So I will elaborate a little bit more on what we've tried to do for Bwa Kayiman and in Bwa Kayiman with our African brothers and sisters. As we move forward, we will talk more about Pan-Africanism and Bwa Kayiman.
Thank you so very much. Just such incredible, both of you just really laid the landscape, put it down for us to show how really expansive the impact that, Bwa Kayiman is, the Congress, the microcosm, right, of Africa. And then through that, right, the language, the Creole language emerging from this microcosm and this unity that happened, and also our beloved Vodou tradition, as we know, it's clearly, right, we honor all of our nations proudly, in that tradition. So moving, with that, our next question is, how do you envision Vodou being used for the liberation of Haiti? Okay, and this is posed directly to Alain and Jean-Daniel. Queen Mother, please, if you feel so moved, please share as well.
I think this was a really important question. And I sat with this for a little while and I decided to kind of go with, okay, well, first let's define what Vodou is, right? I think a lot of people hear the word Vodou, but when it comes to the liberation of Haiti and what Vodou is, a lot of people just can't seem to wrap their heads around how expansive it is. So for me, what Vodou is, right, is three things that I think are very important for us to understand, for us to move forward with the liberation of Haiti. The first one is it's an appreciation of the forces of nature. I think we get a lot from the natural world around us. And Vodou is a science. Vodou breaks that down, breaks down the natural world to us. Vodou is also an appreciation of the ancestors, right? A respect for the ancestors. It's tradition, it's passed down, you know? And lastly, for me, Vodou is a dance, right? It's movement, it's energy, it's action, you know? Once you can get through to those three kind of principles, right? Now, there's many more around it, but for me personally, as a Houngan in my tradition, these are very, very important principles to adhere to, right? Now, when I think of how
Okay. Alain, you're muted.
Yep.
Yeah, please
Okay.
unmute. Okay, thank you.
So when I think about what Vodou is and how it can be used for the liberation of Haiti, I think it's important us as Vodouisans and Haitians that we understand these three kind of areas, right? We need to protect our natural resources, not just, you know, here in the United States, but also here in Haiti too, right? Everyone always feels better when they get to Haitian soil, right? Because they feel somewhat connected more to the land, right? But if we don't protect the land, how can we use the land, you know, in our liberation? Coming from a marine scientist, from a standpoint, right? Haiti has, where you look at it, right, it should have some of the most beautiful reefs in the Caribbean. I mean, just miles away, I mean, you have Cuba, which has pristine reefs, yet the reefs in Haiti are almost the worst. And I feel that if we respect these areas, respect these natural areas, that would definitely help with just, you know, just the liberation of the land. I also think too that the work is on us, right? As Vodouisans, as Haitian Americans. But I think we ourselves need to we need to kind of point the finger at ourselves as well too. Because I think we need to kind of respect Vodou a little more, right? Not the people in this group, obviously, because we kind of can gather in these spaces and have these talks. But I think a lot of Vodouisans don't value what it actually means to be a Vodouisan. And until we value what is ours, then Vodou unfortunately cannot help us in the liberation, right? If we have no respect or if we have no connaissance on who we are as a people, you know, I just don't think that Vodou can happen in that sense. You know, it takes la main forte. It takes metting tête nous ensemble. It takes creating a consciousness, right, that is recognized and respected by all. Now we know Haiti, right, in the state that it's in, there are constant battles for the respect of Vodouisan, the respect of everything. And that's why I kind of, going back to the first part, right? Bwa Kayiman is today, it's tomorrow, it's yesterday. I mean, this is all things that we're essentially fighting against. So how do I envision Vodou being used as a tool for liberation? I think it's being cognizant of all of these aspects, right? Vodou is not just the magie. It's not just the drums, you know, it starts within the lakou, it starts within the community. It starts with us as Vodouisans, as Haitian Americans, going and doing the work, all right? Not just speaking about the work, but the movement, the dance, the action. Until we go into those communities and not even necessarily even with the idea of just being, oh, Vodou is helping, right? Because, you know, I don't want it to come across as kind of like missionary work or anything like that, but not even just going down there and helping our fellow Haitians, our fellow, you know, diaspora, our just, you know, doesn't necessarily have to be in Haiti, but like even just starting in your local community here, right? Just being a pillar in just, you know, your movement in your community will reverberate and will show. And I think once people kind of see that collective consciousness of us, yes, you know, we are Vodouisans, we are serving our community, we are, you know, respecting the land. I think that in turn will help Haiti and will help Vodou in the liberation of Haiti.
Before answering the question on liberation, I'm going to go back to the Pan-African liberation movement and how Bwa Kayiman has not only affected it, is being used today for a new Pan-African movement. You see, the song that I just played is mentioning the Igbos. And in 2003, about 21 years ago, a very large Igbo community based in Chicago contacted me because they wanted to celebrate the 200-year anniversary of Haiti's independence in 2004. They contacted me and they contacted different communities in the greater Africa, people from east to west and from south to North Africa. They contacted many groups, and we were in the process of planning an African return to Bwa Kayiman in 2004. As we know, as we were preparing it, there was the coup d'etat of Aristide that happened, and we had to cancel the event. I'm going to read what the Honorable Emeka Omunu wrote, an extract of what he wrote to kind of to convince me, you know, to wipe my tears about that event not happening. Anyway, so on August 14, 1791, our ancestors who had been shipped to Haiti as slaves with the Haitian words Bwa Kayiman, a corrupt form of the actual Igbo words Bia Ka Ayima, comme let us plan, discuss, started a revolution that nearly shattered the foundations of the Western world. On August 14, 2004, 213 years later, Igbo worldwide will again gather at the actual location of that great and memorable event, not only to celebrations Haiti's 200-year independent anniversary, or pay our respect to those great brethren and accord them their right of a proper and befitting Igbo burial, but also to renew our vow with Yah, Duchi Ukwi, the Supreme One, Ama, Ama, Amasi, Amasi, the unknowable and unfathomable One, and bring about the fulfillment of the prophecy. And the Igbo prophecy, the Igbo in the middle of the Congo, the prophecy is for them to reclaim their land in Africa, a land without the cloud of colonial influence. This is their objective. And this is how important Bwa Kayiman is for them. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, I was in Haitian shooting a documentary, and it's amazing. They happened to come back to Haiti to visit some of the sites, including Bwa Kayiman, and we met again. Bwa Kayiman has transcended Vodou, as Vodou is a tradition, is a Haitian tradition that's expanding in other parts. But Bwa Kayiman on its own is an event that is now being claimed by everyone in Africa as a solution to Pan-Americanism. So Bwa Kayiman is no longer, it's beyond everything that Africans have done outside of Africa. It's the greatest event that Africans have made outside of the motherland. And now to respond to the question on how do I envision Vodou being used for the liberation of Haiti, I'm going to go back to what Houngan said. Islam fought. But Islam fought not only in Haiti, but also outside of Haiti. We have to be able to recreate that event of Bwa Kayiman in the diaspora and in all the diasporas. We have to claim fraternity, and it doesn't even matter what our religion is. As Bwa Kayiman itself, it did not discriminate against people's faith. As a matter of fact, it allowed us, Haitian of Africans, to become one, regardless of our tradition, religion, and belief. Bwa Kayiman created one language. It did not create one religion, which is Vodou, but it helped us recognize in each of us practicing our own tradition, we became one. We understood that the dependency on each other and becoming one while respecting our own tradition was the key. And I think this is where we have to go to liberate Haiti. It's to recognize that our tradition, particularly our tradition and culture, it doesn't matter how different it is from one another, but it's accepting each of us as brothers and sisters and fight for a common cause, which is actually the liberation of Haiti. So this is my view on that.
Yes. Queen Mother, you want to unmute and join in?
Two.
Okay.
Okay. This is interesting. I mean, I agree with both of my brothers here. But I also want to point out that even as we speak, today is my Bwa Kayiman day all day long. I was on a panel earlier, and part of what was brought up was the idea that Bwa Kayiman itself did not happen, that it was a myth. And I don't agree with that, but we need to know that there are Bwa Kayiman deniers. And so there isn't this uniform way of understanding what it wasn't just one event, but a series of events, the culmination of events that took place. It isn't universally embraced because even within our own community, there are issues here. You know, Bwa Kayiman, I always refer to it as not just a ceremony, but a military congress. And so if we're going to be using the word congrès, not just in terms of a gathering, un rassemblement, but as a military construct, then we need to think in military terms, in strategic terms. You know, strategic thinking is important to get to think things through and to lay out a plan, but it is logistics that ends up winning wars. We're still engaged in an ideological war and in many ways a political war. Many of the issues that created that momentary sense of solidarity, I'm saying it's momentary, among African descendants. That includes these people who are Métis, full-blooded Africans, Africans that arrived on the continent and had only been on the in Haiti for a few years, the so-called Creole, the Africans who were born in the Americas. Those divisions are still very much in place. You know, I don't want us walking around thinking we have these lofty ideas, which are wonderful, and we should aspire towards these things. But let's not forget that the tensions that have always been there are still there. And so to bring about Haitian liberation, we need to go back, confront those issues, and figure out how to mitigate them. The ongoing war, if you will, because I believe Haiti is in a civil war. All this stuff about gangs, which are actually paramilitary organizations, it is a manifestation of a civil war. Point back, call it what you want to, but for me, it's a civil war, and the backstory to that still has to do with issues of colorism, still has to do with issues of Afrophobia, still has to do with issues of class, but then even caste that we don't address in our communities, right? And so until we have the wherewithal, the chutzpah, the audacity, the understanding of, again, what the prophetic self is about, what did our ancestors envision for us centuries ago? Where are we now? We have to, to like démarrer, dessonner some of this stuff and go back, address it, and put the mechanisms in place that is going to create the spaces of solidarity that are sustainable, that we need. Vodou is an eco-theology, it's an eco-theological system. So what are the systems in place? What are the mechanisms? How are we going to move in these places to actualize, again, what was envisioned for us here and now? It's a complicated thing, but we have to put some practical things in place. For me, for example, every enfant should be an educational center. Every single one of them. There should be no reason why people are illiterate still. There should be no reason why, for instance, space can't be created for the diaspora to come in with whatever. And of course, there are there's native, there's indigenous intelligence there. There are people who are extremely well educated, who have all sorts of knowledges. Why aren't we sharing that? Why aren't we training everyone collectively to have that sense of, again, of independence there? Why aren't we training people and preparing them for the future that is yet to be, the future that was imagined for us and that we have to continue to imagine? This is the path of liberation. I do things at the UN. I speak at events at the African Union. I do that diplomatic work. We talked about Ogu. We all have to understand that it is our responsibility to be the statesperson, to be ambassadors of our traditions that way too. But we also need to be in those spaces at the table where these things are actually happening. And we can't all be there at the same time. So we have to organize ourselves like, who can do what in this place? How do we support that person? Because yes, we've got to take care of the business at hand at home, at the source. But then this source has, it radiates. It has like long arms and long fingers that stretch out. And some of us are places, far away from the source. So how do you use me as a resource for doing what has to get done? How can I support you? How do we support each other no matter where we are? I mean, for me, ultimately, that's what we've got to think about. Put a specific infrastructures, put specific mechanisms in place that are legal, that are somehow enforceable. That's something we need to figure out. But are also educational. So there's some practical things that have to do because our tradition is ultimately a practical one. It's not some foo-foo thing. So how do we make that happen? And that's what's going to lead to that liberation in the mind that is going to end up in the real liberation that we speak. But our umfos, the jevo that is within us, that does that healing work, has to be exercised. It has to be implemented on the ground first and foremost, and we need the support of the government to do that, no matter what that government is looking like. And it is kind of funky right now. But we're also a people who have operated, in a shadow government way. We don't need the official channels to do things. So how do we do things in that subaltern way that we've always had, in that space that we've always had to operate in? That's all I have to say.
Oh, Queen Mother Dowoti gave us a word. You hear me? Okay, this is about, right? So I'm hearing, listening to all three of you, touch on that, is that this is really, when we think about liberation, we got to be honest, right? Liberation, it takes collaboration with people who you are different than, who you may not like, right? Who you may not understand, right? But it takes that type of commitment to collaboration. It takes being honest. It takes being honest with ourselves, right? If we want the world to respect us, we got to respect ourselves, right? We got to commemorate our ancestors. We've got to honor our ancestors. We've got to honor the prophetic selves, right? That they prayed for us to be. We've got to honor ourselves. So this is really, it's really expansive, right? It's all encompassing, this type of liberation, right? That I hear us talking about, and really kind of telling the truth. And I like that. Let's hold ourselves accountable. We need accountability. Let's hold Vodouisans accountable. Let's hold Black people accountable. Okay. And so kind of leading into that, Queen Mother Dowoti, talked about, kind of started giving us this vision of IET. What was it? What does the liberation of IET look like to her? She kind of started giving us, that vision, and talking about, right, what we're doing in the Lakus, what we're doing, in the government. And so I just want to, we want to pose that again and see, Alain, Jean Danielle, getting down to the nitty gritty, the specifics, right? If you were to envision, right now we wake up tomorrow, Haiti's IET is liberated. What does it look like? What does it feel like? What do the schools look like, right? How would your family's life be different? How would you move differently, right? What kind of government would we have? Talk to us about kind of what that material, what that physical specific vision would look like for you. If we're freedom dreaming, a liberated IET, what does it look like? What does it feel like? So talk to us about that. Alain, I want you to start us off. And then, Jean Danielle, Queen Mother Dowoti, if you want to add any more to what you've already given us, feel free.
Okay, so a liberated Haiti. So Queen Mother, Desir actually kind of alluded to some things already that, would make sense and that I see as a liberated Haiti. I mean, like you said, no enfant, no Laku should not be a teaching space. No, should not be a hospital, should not be a center where, a daycare where you can raise the community. I mean, we have such a power, such a connaissance in our hands that why are these Lakus in the state that they are in? Why does it have to fall on the backs of certain people in the Laku to maintain it when we all benefit from it? A liberated Haiti, right? First of all, I wouldn't be in the States. I mean, I would go straight back to, we'll just say that, it would, if I had the liberated Haiti that I wanted, all of my work would be done in Haiti. Starting from the science, starting from the education, right? Again, protecting the land. My dream is to open up as whatever I can as far as aquaculture, as far as even just swimming, right? Teaching kids snorkeling, if they can see how beautiful the reefs are, how beautiful the marine life, that there is a marine life out there that's not just from hearsay of what they hear or myths and folklores and legends that scare these, poor youth away from the ocean, and even adults too, but if we can start there, again, that will bring that about, that appreciation of nature, that it's connected. What a farmer does in La Plaine du Nord or Atibunut affects a fisherman in Gonaïves Saint Marc, affects fishermen out on the reef miles away. What someone does in the forests of I don't know, near Leogano. So will affect, you know, the farmers and other fishermen further down south. So I think a liberated Haiti, right? For me, it would be where, like Jean Daniel was saying, right? It is up to us as diaspora, it is up to us as brothers and sisters to go around and kind of collect and create what we want for that, right? But and also alluding to what Queen Mother said, that it does also fall on the state as well too, right? Now, whatever state Haiti is in, or whatever state is ruling Haiti at that point, you know, that remains a question, right? But ideally, what a liberated Haiti would be like would have a recognition of us as Vaudouisans in the states, right? In the government, in politics, because again, we are the people. We are closer connected to the people than those that are at the Palais National. You know, we are the foot soldiers of the communities. You know, people come to Vaudouisans for everything, you know, for any matter and situation. We are the doctors, we are the judges, we are the police, we are just everything that, you know, the teachers, the nurses, we are the community. So I think to have proper representation within the state, you know, is important for liberated Haiti. And I think once, I mean, ideally, again, in a utopic society, right? Once the state sees the community work that we as Vodouisans are doing, then they would be more inclined to at least offer service and aid. But we all know that in Haiti, you know, it's so volatile. You know, we can only hope and dream that a state will recognize the work that Vodouisans that we do openly in public. But I mean, if Haiti was liberated just tomorrow like that, and we had all of those infrastructures, those resources set in place, I would be there in a heartbeat. I mean, I'm sorry, pack my bags, US, but like I would be there to help my people. I would be there to bring about that consciousness, to do the work of, you know, our ancestors, what they wanted for us, to also, you know, enjoy the benefits, you know, of it, because, you know, we're not meant to be living in this stress. This is not what our ancestors wanted. This is not why we did Bwa Kayiman. Nous pas fait Bwa Kayiman pour servir étranger. You know, we didn't do this to serve strangers. We did this for ourselves so that we ourselves could in turn live together, you know, and just enjoy what is Haiti. So yeah, I think, you know, again, I do like the idea of the accountability. You know, we do. I think it starts with us being accountable of who we are as ourselves. And like Queen Mother was saying, we have some deeply ingrained injustices amongst ourselves that we, I think, need to address first. But I do think, I remain hopeful. I pray, I jete glow every day, I jete clairin, you know, I give honor to the ancestors every day, so that, you know, one day, if not me personally, but, you know, my children's will see a liberated Haiti. My children's children will see a liberated Haiti. So.
Ayubobo. Ayubobo. Beautiful vision. Thank you so much, Houngan Alain. Do we have more visions that we want to share? Houngan Jean Daniel or Queen Mother Dowoti? Houngan Jean Daniel, can you please unmute? Okay.
Okay. I live in Haiti, and actually I came back about less than 2 weeks ago. I'm quite often abroad for different reasons, either for health, you know, to work and other reasons, but home is Haiti, and I'm there as often as I can. Truthfully, I think that we have to unite outside of Haiti and create a critical mass in the like of Bwa Kayiman to go back and take it over. I think that we have to organize ourselves here, I mean, in the diaspora in general, and also to influence policies, foreign policies toward Haiti, and to put pressure on the Haitian governments and other people that are kind of creating a situation of total dysfunction there. My opinion now is that there is a systematic system that's destroying that's basically destroying Haiti, because the constant exodus, the constant brain drain create a vacuum in which those who stay do not have the capacity to move with the world as we know it. I mean, they are very important. By staying there, I think they have a lot to offer, but the majority of those that stay, they cannot move with the new technologies. Development becomes almost impossible. The second thing is that we no longer live in a state of poverty. We currently live in a state of misery. And I think that something will happen, because the same way Bwa Kayiman happened, people had their back to the wall and there was a situation of total hopelessness. I think we are moving in that direction, and those there will react to that situation of total hopelessness at one point. But it's I don't know, it's a very difficult, but I think that the diaspora has to play a role, because they have the capacity to change things in Haiti. And I think that the diaspora has never done their own Bwa Kayiman. They are totally, they are not united. They don't work as one. And I think that the situation of comfort in which they live also make of them, they don't, hate is more like in a dream for most, you know, than it is a reality. So I think that we have to shake ourselves up in the diaspora and start working as one to change things. Because without the help of the diaspora, it's going to be very difficult. I'm taking the Canal, for instance, as an example of solidarity between Haitians living in Haiti and those living abroad, and evidently that gives some result. And I think that if we want change in Haiti, real change, we have to go in that direction. We should stop dreaming and start really, truly acting. So this is my view.
It's an interesting thing that you've just said, Uga, about the diaspora having its own moment of Bwa Kayiman. I agree with you to some extent. I don't know if our backs will ever be pushed up against that wall for that to happen. So perhaps there is an issue of comfort. But there was something that happened over a decade ago that traumatized us and that galvanized us. And the diaspora did come together during the Guju Guju, during the massive earthquake that I can't talk about without my heart breaking. We did do the work. We had the discussions. We set the money. We did Sissy. We did Sula. We did all of that stuff. And there was a real moment of hope there, a moment of transformation that I saw. I believe we all believed could happen. And with the corruption, with the greed, with everybody wants to be the chief everybody wants to be the, you know, the Woneg, everybody has to be, you know, it's just like in Vodou, nobody wants to be on C, everybody has to be a Manbo, everybody has to be an Uga. A society can't function that way, right? And so if within the microcosm of our societés, our lacus, especially the interaction that we're having with the diaspora, and I live in the diaspora, right? So I'm quite passé, you know, but everybody has to be up here. Nobody has to be here. Nobody sees the humility and the import of being in on CSEP. For example, I want to be an Asogwe. You know, Queen Mother, how come you're not initiating me? I want to be with you. Right? So, so the same phenomena happens on a larger scale. You know, I've been to these meetings at the Organization of American States, aware of the meetings that took place in Canada and elsewhere. We think we have a hopeful group of people, but say who are causing the same problems, or they want to be like the people who manipulate power, the same people who do not have a respect for Haitian conviviality, that principe of vivre ensemble, you know, that don't understand what the lakou means, you know, don't have the humility to understand the levels of authority, and that we can't all be the chief. Some of us have to do the work. Some of us have to be on seat. And so I don't know what has to be done to motivate, to uneducate, you know, people that way and re-educate them into understanding our processes of thought, the principles of life, our understanding of how Vodou functions in the day-to-day world, so that the diaspora can really be the asset that we all have the potential to be. And I think many of us want to be in Haiti. So we've got all this sort of quarreling that's taking place over here and over there. And then on the home surface, the home term, in the homeland itself. So it's a complicated thing, but and I don't know who has to give certain people the authority to be in charge of certain spaces, but somehow we have to come to a meeting of the minds so that we understand tel moun en charge de tel bagay. You know, this is, I'm going to open up that door for that question of governance, what kind of governing structure we should have in IT, if you don't mind, because I feel like it's a natural segue into this. Frankly, Mpakone, all right, because I come from a camp that questions democracy at a certain point. You know, we should all have our voices heard. I agree. But at some point, somebody's got to make a decision, or a small group, a tight group of people who are ethical, who are moral, who are listening, actively listening to what our communities have to say, what our lacus has to say, you know, is going to synthesize that information and present it to us and make it their responsibility to execute. We have to trust each other enough to do that. We have to love ourselves enough to make that sacrifice and understand. C'est pas juste que tout le monde c'est moun, but tout le monde qui est chimen pop payo. Okay? I'll give myself an example. Do you know, I'm so sick of people challenging me as a reine mère. Like, qui moun bay fia, permission pour faire tel bagay. I didn't go looking for it. C'est loyal, c'est Vodou, c'est yo même qui décide ça. You know, it's my lineage, it's my moon who put me in this position. And I had a choice of not listening, but we all know the consequences of not listening, n'est-ce pas? Or to submit. And so I submitted. But I'm here to serve, because that's what c'est serviteur nous y est, n'est-ce pas? So I'm here to serve. So why are people blocking my opportunity, my need, my charge to serve? And I'm sure each of you have had a similar experience where you're trying to do something because each of us are in the positions that we're in, not because of our ego, but because the law chose us to do something. And if we can be in a space where I understand what your charge is and what your charge is and what your charge is and this other person's charge is, you understand what my role is, then we can come together in that space, you know, and push that engine of change forward. But when you have disparities and you have people, especially in the diaspora, who still think that Vodou, c'est bagay pou imbécile, c'est bagay kokobe, you know, things like that. In this day and age, in this century, still thinking that way, how are we going to advance? Okay, I'm not going to give up hope, you know. If you want to do, what do they say? If you want to do things quickly, you move by yourself. If you want to have an experience and ultimately something that is sustainable, we've got to work together. So some of us have to make an agreement, a pact. Drink whatever blood you want. But we've got to make that pact and have an agreement that we're going to move forward in a particular direction to bring about a certain set of changes that we understand and know has to be realized, and be willing to make those sacrifices so that our people can be fully liberated. Merci.
Merci, Queen Mother. You've given us so much to think about. And I want to invite Jean-Sebastien wants to chime in, right, and offer some offer his thoughts on this question or any others. So just Houngan. Go Houngan. Okay.
Aibobo, thank you for offering me the space, and thank you to all of you for bringing, you know, the energy that you brought forward, and for educating us, giving us energy, giving us Bwa Kayiman energy. I agree with a lot of what was said. I honor you, I respect, you know, Lafontant did mention nonetheless that we need to stop dreaming and be more concrete and do more. And I want to agree with that, but I want to kind of, if you allow me, I'm going to rephrase something as well. I'd like us to definitely dream more and dream better. I'm gonna go back to say that for me, Bwa Kayiman was not just you know, a ceremony or anything. Bwa Kayiman was a moment. It was a moment of consciousness. Bwa Kayiman is also the ritual that brings that consciousness into the space of us living people. We all know that as Vaudouisans, what happens in our mind is a beginning, is where it starts, but then faut nous déposer magie à terre. And I believe that with that mindset of looking at Bwa Kayiman as the ritual that deposits the state of consciousness into our now existence, into our contemporary world, is what we need to continue carrying with ourselves. Like all of you mentioned, you know, Bwa Kayiman is now, Bwa Kayiman is tomorrow, is what we need to continue carrying with ourselves in order to continue to produce what Bwa Kayiman produced yesterday. We could produce what Bwa Kayiman, you know, is to produce today, and our children could produce what that concept of Bwa Kayiman is to produce tomorrow. I think that, you know, a lot of us are talking about Pan-Africanism. We're talking about the diaspora, the Haitian diaspora. We're talking about the space. I thought of the fact that Jean-Daniel mentioned how we need the diaspora, but also mentioned that the engaged people were Igbo at the time, for example, that group of Igbo people. So I think it becomes so important for me, so important for us to realize that that the diaspora is not just what they call the Haitian diaspora of the République, but the diaspora is the Haitian diaspora of the empire.
Merci.
I want to talk about, Bwa Kayiman as not just being a Pan-African Congress, but I think Bwa Kayiman, I wrote it earlier, is the seed of the union of a indigenous people. And indigenous people exist in all colors, all forms, all spaces. So with that definition, for Bwa Kayiman being for us as indigenous people, it is for us Taino people. It is for us African people. It is for us Black American people. It is for all of us in that regards. And in that sense, that space of consciousness, that space of a dream of a Bwa Kayiman, the way it was in the beginning, that space of being conscious that Bwa Kayiman is a state where our humanity as indigenous people is a fundamental right. It brings us different steps. It's because our humanity is a fundamental right that we needed to look for the enemy and kick him out. Bwa Kayiman was not, in my opinion, about the enemy. It could never be about the enemy. It's a lot bigger than that. It's just that the manifestation of Bwa Kayiman, that state of consciousness, in the time where an enemy is present, the ritual of that Bwa Kayiman kicks the enemy out. The ritual of Bwa Kayiman in a time when poverty is the subject, it kicks poverty out. The ritual in a time when government issues is the subject, it kicks government issues out. Solution to government is multiple. There's many languages to express, the light of God. I like to say, government could be kingdom. Government could be Houngan Manbo, Andon Lakou. Government can be a president. There's nothing wrong with that. But when we celebrate Bwa Kayiman as the state of consciousness of claiming our humanity as indigenous people who value their surroundings, people who value other people, because we understand as indigenous people that we cannot live alone. Somebody mentioned earlier that there is the necessity for allies. That I feel that is an indigenous understanding of our humanity. We're not alone. There are people. So that Bwa Kayiman consciousness in a moment where money is needed, governance is needed, nous tous we can mettre tête nous ensemble pour créer un système gouvernemental ça. And nobody needs to be kicked out. En réalité, everybody could be a part of that conversation. Of course, we will not forget in our Creole that the concept of blanc that isn't welcome does exist. It's just that blanc is not the color of a people. Blanc is the color of the oppression to indigenous existence. If you don't understand my indigenous right as a human being, ou sont blancs, and you cannot be a part of this conversation. But if we are all talking of humanity, we are talking of problems of the now, poverty is one of them. Misgovernment, mismanagement of power on the island of Haiti is a conversation. I think it's a conversation that in the spirit of Bwa Kayiman, in the spirit of that dream, that state of consciousness that Bwa Kayiman is, definitely more than the Haitian diaspora need to be invited to that conversation. The Igbo people that Lafontant was talking about are to be invited in that conversation. The IRS, the African Union, those who are close to the island that are not blanc, and those who are blanc you know, it was a duty that was given to us by our ancestors pour nous faire attention à blanc. So I think it is a duty that as héritier of the space of Haiti, that is not to be seen as a republic, but as Lafontant put it so well, it seems to me that the space of Haiti is actually our Guélé-Fré. But our habitation is all over the world. Que la terre soit bénie. Que je sois en Afrique, que je sois en Haïti, which is the reason why, Queen Mother, the work you do in Africa is Haitian. The work you do in Africa is Bwa Kayiman expression. It's the reason why the work we do in the diaspora is Haitian and is Bwa Kayiman work. Is the reason why the African Americans, the rest of the Caribbean, other people of African descent in this conversation of today need to be included and feel Haitian and also celebrate Bwa Kayiman and carry that spirit of Bwa Kayiman in the contemporary conversation, because Bwa Kayiman was not just people from the Republic space of Haiti, it was indeed people from the Republic space of the globe, understanding and respecting people's habitations in Haïti, parce que yon habitation va n'importe qui ça. Et habitation pa nou sous terre d'Haïti, si lycée Guélé-Fré pour nous toutes, we need to dream and we need to carry that space in a dream state. It needs to be spiritual space. The Taínos, I'm from Abrico, I must celebrate them. Even though Brise passe la caille nous en vent la nan nord parce qu'il fait de faune. Vent qui sorti en Afrique, traverser tout espace sa yo, là yo rive grandance, mon yo trop haut. Yo obligé laguer toute l'eau, ak tout ça en bas de l'eau. Pour que vent ka continue faire chemin, monter Miami à l'autre côté. Brise atterri, il soufflé, il rive dans le nord, il traversait tout côté. Donc, en tant que monde qui sorti dans le sud, il fier en pile en tant qu'on petit Bwa Kayiman tout, you know? But I think that state of consciousness is so important, and I think, thank you for allowing me the space to mention it, because I think it could kind of help us root the conversation as well and to go forward and not allow ourselves to make it about Haitians from the Haiti Republic, because Bwa Kayiman could have never been about that. Bwa Kayiman is about us, is about humans and our humanity, and us carrying that, you know, as petite terre, as petite of this space Haïti, l'espace d'élévation spirituelle, l'espace qui est à préserver l'humanité du monde entier. Guélé-Fré, monde blanc. I don't know if what I'm saying is clear. I don't want to be too poetic, because as my big brother mentioned, Houngan, Lafontant, merci en pile pour toute intervention yo. I do want to stay concrete. I don't want, you know, the dream to not be ritual. Because in Vodou, and the role of Vodou in this, in the future of Haiti, and the role of Vodou in Bwa Kayiman is the ideal of that dream not being just airy, but forever la atterri. Faut que nous jeter de l'eau, faut que t'es arrosé, faut que énergie yo, you know, souke, faut nous danser. So I hope what I'm saying is not too airy for you all. I hope it's kind of understood, that it makes sense, but I think that would be my contribution to the conversation. Thank you.
My goodness. Ay bobo. Wow, that was such a beautiful, beautiful contribution that really, you know, I think really encapsulates what we've been talking about, right? That consciousness, thinking of coming back to this idea of, you know, Bwa Kayiman is being bigger than what we think, right? It's material, it's immaterial, you know? Queen Mother Dowoti, you want to?
But to that end, I want to stick with the issue of formal government. We keep saying Haiti is a republic. We were not founded as a republic. We were founded as an empire. Okay, and so that's a very different governmental system. It's a very different structure of being, and in many ways, it's much bigger than the idea of a republic. It transcends that. Now, the difference is that in Haiti, as our people had envisioned the notion of an empire, it is not the same kind of force that the same kind of construct that Europeans had. Or lands were being taken over. And even though people usually have a sense of freedom in empires, we were not about, I don't believe our sense of empire was to impose ourselves on others, but to create multiple spaces of sovereignty globally. But to federate those principles of sovereignty, of fraternity, of liberty amongst all of us. But I would, so I just want to make that distinction. An empire is different from a republic. And so if we're going to talk about governing systems, again, from a practical point of view, what does that look like? How's that going to work? What worked in the past in Haiti may not work here and now. Living on the African continent, I know democracy doesn't work. You know, here we call that dictatorship, we call it all sorts of things. But there's systems of government that are aligned with systems of a spiritual practice, that are aligned with certain customs, with kinship structures that work well there. What does that look like for us? What are our indigenous governing systems? How do we tap into that so that we can create an organizational structure, a governing structure that, again, is sustainable and that is going to be honored and respected by all? I'm asking that question, a practical question. Please.
Well, we are going to thank you for that really provocative question, but we're going to have to move into our Q&A. Okay, I know that you all, and hopefully some of these questions, you know, hold on to those ideas. Hopefully they can come out right in our Q&A. We're doing well on time, but we just want to kind of be mindful of people as well. So we just had a couple of questions in the Q&A. Please, if you have not put your question in there, I'm talking to our audience members now, please do. We do have a couple in there that will pose. And you know, we won't be able to get to all of them, right? But we'll try our best. So there's one that was posed by Sessa Salam. So I'll read that one. While we recognize Bwa Kayiman as that initial spark of the revolution, there was significant planning and organization that occurred before and after, which allowed the power harnessed from the ceremony to actually take effect. Can any of the panelists speak to the organizational efforts or structures that were put in place? So what kind of, like, this is, you know, asking about what kind of organization, you know, was put in place to ensure, you know, to start, right? It was a military meeting, you know, of sorts to start, to ensure that the revolution was successful. So if anybody, you know, can speak to, you know, to some of that. Like what kind of planning went into it, or? I know that Houngan Jean Daniel had I think addressed this a bit, but I don't know if maybe you can summarize what you had said, Houngan Jean Daniel, if you don't mind, about the kind of preparation that went into that you had mentioned that went into Bwa Kayiman, And the fact that it wasn't just in one area, that it was like, you know, kind of all over the island. Oh, sorry, I'm sorry.
Very well, yes. In terms of organization, I know that African enslaved in the North region came from all over to participate in that Congress. And I know that people came all the way from the Gonaïve region. Some of the Lakou, the major Lakou, like I think it was Soukri, some of the Congo Lakou, Soukri, and I think even Souvenas, that members of these Lakou were also in the ceremony of Bwa Kayiman, in the Congress of Bwa Kayiman. And in the South region, there were also meetings and reunion done around the same period. So it was a well-orchestrated movement and Congress that happened. And that was evidently organized in a very spiritual way. But I think that for information, specific information about how it happened prior to, it would probably be best to refer to historians that would explain how. I know that Rachel Beauvoir has written a book also on Bwa Kayiman. And in that book, and it's also available, I think, on Amazon, I think that in that book, there is also the possibility of maybe finding more information. I haven't read it, unfortunately, but I am sure that knowing Rachel, that she would give information about how it was organized prior to that event.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Go ahead.
Should I add that I definitely, I think a historian would definitely be able to pinpoint the answer to that question. I could imagine certain things, you know. There's this organization in Haiti, you know, and to also answer Queen's Mother's answer at the same time, you know, we say a Manbo in Haiti literally translates to queen. So Haiti is essentially a land of many queens. The empire of Haiti, you know, has many queendoms and kingdoms as well. And Papa Dessalines did let us know that he was to be the only emperor. And, you know, for us,
you can't have two heads.
For us, one never dies. But, you know, atis within queendoms do exist. Anyway, let me not get there. But Haiti is organized in a way where, you know, bitations exist. And bitation get met. Yon Manbo, yon Houngan, nous c'est petit papa locaux ensemble, nous gen même papa. So information that gets to one is also for the other, you know, and that is still a way that information you know, is shared in Haiti today. Like as a Houngan, you have a network, you know, that you're a part of. And even though you don't know every Houngan and every Manbos, but every Houngan and every Manbos is a part of a similar network. And information, you know, is able to happen, you know. Yeah. There's this concept, and I celebrate Bwa Kayiman, the space in the north there, I believe, and, you know, the ceremony that happened there. But that information of the concept, the consciousness of Bwa Kayiman, you know, was one that was shared all throughout the island, you know. The Dominican Republic was also a part of the island and of that effort as well. And different Lakus from all over the place shared that consciousness. And they knew, you know, la lune monte, la lune descend, what a full moon represents. When rituals are stronger, the days are similar. I don't need to talk to you to know that this day is the day this ritual should be done. So when the state of consciousness, when the dream is together and it falls in a space of connaissance, a lot of magic could happen. It does not need to be systematic in the way that the West functions systematically in order for it to work. I do believe Haiti is a place.
Aibobo.
Yeah. I'll leave it at that. Aibobo Houngan. Thank you. I'll leave it at that. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. Okay, does anybody else want to weigh in on that question? So there was another one, and then this is going to be our last question because we do, you know, we could stay. Again, we're moving, where the energy is flowing. We could stay here all night, but we do want to, you know, we got to move things along. So this last question, you know, the second question that we had posted is I'll read. It's a question about the presence, and it's the presence of people who are not of African descent amongst us, okay, in this gathering, right? And so I want us to, you know, to address this. There are people who are not of African descent. This is Tewu Ubuntu, you know, who posed a question. Who are they and why are they here? This is a private space for people that share ancestral lineage. So I'll address the second part. And the second part is that, you know, just, you know, as COSAMBA, we're sponsoring this, we're a scholarly organization, an organization for the scholarly study of Haitian Vodou. And we have membership of people, and we have board members who are from, you know, various ancestral lineages. There are also, you know, people who are initiated, who are very faithful initiates and servitors, you know, in African diasporic religious traditions, you know, who are of different lineages. So, and this is a public event, right? So I'll just say that part, but I think, you know, I do hear, right? Because this is something that we talk about often in our traditions, is that what is the role, right? What is the role of people who are not of African descent? What is the role of the Blanc? What is the Blanc? I'm Black American, initiated in Vodou. I have some Haitian heritage, but it's not all Haitian heritage. There are some people who think that I'm Blanc. I don't, you know, what am I doing here, right? So I do want us to kind of, you know, maybe address it in the context of everything that we talked about tonight. Is what is the role of that, right? Of the Blanc, of the concept of foreigner in these traditions.
To quickly just kind of summarize, I think, you know, we mentioned it tonight that like Bwa Kayiman wasn't just enslaved Africans. It wasn't just one group of people. It was a collection of everyone. It was a collection of indigenous. It was a collection of, you know, the Creole, the people born, the people that literally may have been on Haiti for, you know, on Haiti for less than a month. You know, it was everyone at the time. So I think it's in, you know, to have spaces like this where we can all kind of feed off and learn off each other. I do agree that there are some spaces, right, that, you know, it has to be family, right? But I think it doesn't really serve for an event like this, for this talk, especially on Bwa Kayiman. I just don't think closing it off to Haitians only or Vaudouisans or, you know, serves any purpose, because that's not what the purpose of Bwa Kayiman was. I actually wrote it down what Houngan Baba said. Blanc is the color of indigenous impression. I mean, I just don't think that, you know, it's, you know, I think we need to kind of move past, you know, just certain ideals that have just been kind of rooted in, you know, these spaces like this, and kind of see what we can, you know, do to change this narrative, change this you know, system. So
Thank you so much.
Anybody
else?
It's about for me, it's about the same. I'm saying that I think that everyone is from African ancestry. Not everyone did have the, you know, have had the African experience, but everyone is from African ancestry. As per Bwa Kayiman, Bwa Kayiman is not about African or other indigenous. Bwa Kayiman is about freedom, the right to exist as a free person, the right to be who you are, the right to be a king or a queen on earth. This is what Bwa Kayiman was a consciousness, as Houngan Babas wonderfully mentioned it. But it has transcended everything Haitian now. It's about a movement of liberation that has succeeded. It's about freedom and it's about liberation.
Mm. Thank you so much. Thank you, Houngan Jean Daniel. Are there any other final comments before we wrap up and move on to our closing?
I mean, just like everybody said, and just like Alain said as well, you know, after we understand what blanc actually is, that blanc is not the color of a people, nor their nationality, I could unapologetically say that, you know, blanc va place au point blank. So in order for you to do the work and be in service, there is need to actually embrace Haitianism in the sense of the empire, not in the sense of a republic where you need to stop being American, where you need to stop being African, where you need to stop being anything that you are. But, you know, in the sense of the empire of Haiti, it's actually, you know, embracing that concept that began with the Bwa Kayiman that Lafontant beautifully described.
Let me also say that Vodou is also a matter of lineage. It's about family. It's about clan. And so, you know, we've always been an inclusive place, a place of that seeks tolerance and acceptance, of balance and equilibrium. But you know, I do have brothers, some sisters who, I won't say that they're white, they happen to be white. But I encourage them to go find your own ancestors, go look and tap into their resources and what was their relationship with God. What was their relationship? How did they define the divine? And what does that knowledge look like? Go there and learn that. If you want to come back and bring something to us, cool. You know, because Vodou has highly synthetic properties. It's quintessentially imperialistic that way. It absorbs all kinds of things. It's like, oh, are we? You know, that's how we are. But there's this issue of cultural appropriation, an asymmetrical relationship that we have with people who are not of our lineage, who are not of our clan, who are not directly of our kin. And I'm not talking about some abstract biological thing, and we all come from the African continent at the end of the day, but I'm talking about how do you identify? How do you identify? Are you identifying your Blackness as a certain kind of sacred frequency? You know, you want to be, you're not melanin rich, that's okay. But how is your relationship with us manifesting itself in an allyhood? You know, how are you making sacrifices and laying down or standing besides us or perhaps behind us or wherever you need to be to protect us? How are you doing that? And if you can't do that, then, you know, what are you doing here? For me, it's not enough what danser, what chanter, chanson. You're doing all of that, all that sort of performative element of Vodou. No, if you're going to do this, you're going to be here in this space, initiate yourself in this space. And because if it wasn't for Houngan and for Manbo, there wouldn't be any, you know, Blanc, Lot Moon who are inside of the space. So why are you bringing them in? What are you demanding of them? It can't be say comme si c'est macaque or parrots and we want to show how well we've trained people. And excuse me for being so harsh, but I've had this argument with my late papa, Fanfan Damas, about that for years. Okay, why are you giving them everything and you don't even give it to us? Like you see it is. We do that. So why are we bringing them in if there isn't reciprocity there? Because if we demand stuff of the law demand things of us, and we have to do things for them. Do you understand? There has to be equilibrium and balance. Not balance. The thing is going back and forth both ways. And that represents a give and a take, an exchange, a receiving, that yin and yang. There are these multiple or dual principles that are operating here that we understand, that informs, it's part of the principles of Vodou, but it's not coming back to us in any practical way. For the most part, I don't want to make gross generalization, but it's not coming back to us in a practical way. So again, si nous voulons faire ça, initier n'importe où, that's your business. But at least bring something back that's going to strengthen us, that's going to aggrandize us, that is going to maintain the sense of balance and equilibrium that we have. It can't be everything is going in one direction, So just putting it out there for our collective consideration, because it is a problem otherwise. It is cultural appropriation. And we're never going to stay in being a place of balance if we're constantly giving, if we don't get anything back. But my share.
Balance. We are giving, the law asks of us, Queen Mother said, the law asks of us, we give, they give to us. So when we're working collaboratively, how are we ensuring that there's a balance, that we are giving and receiving for the collective good? Please, this has been so edifying for me personally. I am honored to have been in communication with you all. And I want us to let's just really thank us. You can unmute yourself now, and thank our esteemed panelists for joining us tonight. If you want to unmute yourself.
Oh, I wish
Thank you.
Aye, Bobo. Merci.
Thank you so much.
Merci,
Merci un peu.
Oceanago,
Bobo,
Aibo, gratitude and appreciation.
Merci pour tout bagay. Tout bagay.
Janset yo rejoui.
What an honor to be in this space. Thank you so much for inviting us, for really just edifying our souls, putting so much into perspective of how we can unify ourselves as a people, whether we are here in the States or in Haiti or in other parts of the world. I mean, I'm just so honored to truly be in this space. Thank you so much.
Thank you. You guys have a great day. It was very informative, and I felt very inspired in understanding our mission is to reclaim and just continue. We have the Haiti International Film Festival this weekend, the Martinsville Gallery Theater in Hollywood, and it's going to be virtual. So you have all these new stories, and the theme this year is Komit. So it's us working together from artistic and from business in a spiritual sense. So I just want to say thank you. This was a great day. So merci pour tout bagay.
Thank you so much. So now, thank you so much. We're going to please mute yourselves back again. But this was great. Now we're going to move on to our closing. We're going to hear some closing words from our esteemed president of Kosamba, Yannick Hume.
Bom bagay, a Oceanago. Merci. for this incredible encounter that brings us all from different parts of the world. I join you from the blessed land of Salvador de Bahia, bringing greetings from this space, and our co-vice president, one of them is en route from Benin. So we are really pulling our community, our collective together as we assemble as one family. And there's so much said here, and I don't want to detain us for much longer, because the seeds of liberation that have been sown at that fateful night on August 14th is with us. 1791 remains with us, and it calls on us to be accountable in maintaining the watering of those seeds so that they continue to flourish, that they continue to generate abundance and nourish us in the ways in which they nourished our ancestors. May we build from that which they have sown, and we continue to carry forth the torch, carry forth in all that we do, carry forth from the various lineages that bring us together, recognizing that our heads are called in different directions, but knowing that we are grounded in spirit, through water, through sand, through earth, through the trees. May we continue to grow together in unity. May we recognize all that is shared within this group, giving thanks to our esteemed panel, to our Queen Mother, Dowoti Desir, to our Houngan, Alain, Pierre, to our Houngan, Jean-Daniel, Lafontant, to Houngan, Babas, Jean-Sebastien, sending warm greetings to you all and giving thanks to our Manbo Kahdeidra for holding space and moderating this panel with us. Respect due and honoring to all societies who've been assembled, who were joining us tonight, for all crown heads, to all those who came with their hearts to share, for all those who came with their ignorance and were fed with the
food trays with the little legs.
And therefore leave here knowing a bit more. For those who gave of their hearts and gave of their souls and their speaking and their offerings today, we give thanks for that which you've shared with us, because we come with that force, and we're asking that you join us again on October 14th, because the continuation of the conversation will take place in 2 more iterations on October 14th and December 14th, because as the Queen Mother so rightly indicated and others have chimed in on, the strategic planning wasn't a one-off, that we recognize that part of the goal of actualizing the liberation of which we seek requires that we assemble en masse more than once, that we keep the conversations in full, but we recognize that we move conversation to action, recognizing that it's coming from a space and a place of consciousness, and allowing that to ignite the force that brings us forward. Esteemed panelists, merci en pile. To all my board members that are here, the executive team that are here, to the Bwa Kayiman team that put this all together, deep bow of gratitude to you all for all of your energies, for your time in making this come together, and for our esteemed audience joining us from all quarters of the world, all 4 corners of the world, to be with us this evening. Give thanks, give thanks, give thanks. Merci un peu. Aoshe nago.
Oh. Mianvalu, mianvalu o koanye. Mianvalu o koanye. Katapulo kriol mache wanan. Katapulo kriol mache wanan. Katapulo kriol mache wanan. Katapulo kriol mache wanan. Kriol mache wanan. Guinée mache gelefre. De kriol mache wanan. Guinée mache gelefre. Katapulo kriol mache wanan. Papa loko ou se van. Wa pousse n'ale, nous c'est papillon, n'a pote nouvelle bayo. Et tout ça qui dit bien, je la hais. Et tout ça qui dit mal, yo, je la hais. Papa loco, papa, où c'est vent? Wa pousse n'ale, nous c'est papillon, n'a pote nouvelle bayo. Hey, bobo.
Aïe bobo, aïe bobo.
Awoshenago, merci, merci.
Thank you all for joining us, and we will see you at our next event. Stay tuned.
Merci, bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Merci.
Thank you, guys.
Bonsoir.
Thank you again.
Bye.